This is the refreshed 2025 Ram 1500, and they ruined it. Never mind. No, they didn't. We have traveled to Texas, the home of trucks, to check out this. This is the 2025 Ram 1500. Man, I cannot believe it's 2025. This thing has gotten a pretty extensive refresh. So this is still gonna be the 5th generation Ram 1500. New generation one won't come for a little bit longer. Big changes in the refresh. Biggest ones under the hood up front. So V8 is gone. Now you get a pair of turbocharged straight 6 engines that are added to the mix. And then we're also here in the Tungsten. Now this is a brand new trim level for 2025. It's luxurious. Ram was already pretty much the nicest pickup that you could buy. These interiors have been top notch for this whole generation, and this just takes it to a whole nother level. But we're gonna start with those powertrains because that's probably the biggest story. Now, I know that some of you will be upset that the V8 is gone, and I know that in the beginning of this video, TikTok Brian may have told you that they ruined the truck, but after getting behind the wheel, that's really not the case at all. And by the way, YouTube Brian would really appreciate a like and subscribe, so. Now, the 2 new straight 6 engines aren't new to us completely, but they are new to Ram. So both are straight 6s, 3 liter with a twin turbo, and they come in 2 varieties, one called the Hurricane and one called the Hurricane High Output. The old V8 in this vehicle, it wasn't very good. It felt a little bit grainy, if that makes sense. It didn't really provide smooth acceleration or power. And to be honest, I don't think that we're going to miss it too much because the new Hurricane engine, not even the high output one, makes more horsepower and torque than the outgoing V8. Now, like I said, we're driving a Tungsten right now, the new trim level, which means that 1, I'm very comfortable, and 2, it comes standard with the high output version of this engine. Now, high output is an appropriate name for this engine because this actually makes more horsepower and torque than the turbocharged 3.5 liter V6 that you're going to find in the Ford F-150 Raptor. Something that you can tell all of the Ford fanboys in your life, and I'm sure that they will take that really well.
We'll get him when he comes back in!
As you can see, we're kind of driving through the back roads of Hill Country. We had a chance to drive on the freeway earlier and through the streets of Austin. And I will say this, the pickup on this engine is really impressive. When you put your foot into it, there's like a touch of turbo lag, but then it just gets up and goes. I mean, passing power, really easy. Getting on the freeway, really easy. This engine is definitely overqualified for street duty. We'll see how it does towing later, but on the streets, this is gonna offer you more power than you could ever really need in normal conditions. Combine that easy power with the way that the Ram trucks ride, and it provides basically a luxurious experience that sort of matches this really nice interior. This vehicle comes equipped with the air suspension as well, and it just does a great job of soaking up all the road imperfections. You definitely can tell you're driving a truck. It doesn't quite feel, you know, like a unibody SUV or a sedan might feel, but for a truck, this is about as good as you're gonna get when it comes to ride quality. One thing that I don't like about some of these full-size trucks is that you can feel like the rear of the truck is a bit disconnected from the front, but that is not the case here. The way the suspension is set up makes the whole truck join together. So I never feel like I'm dragging the bed around even when it's empty, and it never really bounces or jostles either. Even over some like broken pavement, like things we're going over here, I mean, you can even barely hear or feel. This cabin is super quiet too. It's just a great truck to drive around on the street. Now the turbo lag here is not as pronounced as you're gonna get in some other 6 cylinders with turbos, because what they've done is instead of having 1 big turbo, they have 2 smaller turbos, and each turbo services 3 cylinders basically. The smaller turbos will actually spool up quicker, so while there is just a hint of lag, it's much less pronounced than you're gonna get in some of the other straight 6s or V6s with big turbos on them. What's that? You're wondering if these straight 6 turbo engines get better fuel economy than the V8? I'm also wondering, but I don't know yet because Ram hasn't released fuel economy figures.
Disappointed!
So gonna have to wait a little bit more for those. Okay, so as you can maybe tell, the scenery has changed a little bit and we've changed trucks. So I'm out of the Tungsten into the Rebel, which is the off-road version of the Ram 1500. And why we are interested in this vehicle in particular is that this has the regular Hurricane, so not the high output version, even though this thing still makes plenty of power, over 400 horsepower and well over 400 pounds-feet of torque. In this environment, we are in 4-low, of course. So we're here to see how this powertrain does at sort of lower speeds, where throttle dexterity is important, With these engines with these turbos, sometimes they can be a little bit, let's say that the throttle doesn't come on super evenly. So the power, instead of like kind of rising in the manner that you would expect, you get these sort of like surges of power instead. But like I said, we're in 4 low, and this is a fairly rigorous off-road. So this is giving us a good chance to sort of get a feel for this engine in this environment. Okay, so while we're in the low range, power delivery, very smooth. None of the real concerns that we had about this powertrain are coming to fruition. It's easy to sort of get over obstacles in a slow fashion. Although with the suspension setup on this truck, we don't even really need to be going this slow. The air suspension has a bunch of different settings. Right now we're in the off-road setting to give us the most ground clearance, and like I said, 4 low, and this thing is just sort of trundling along. This is another instance in which I really don't miss the V8 in the Ram. Now you might be wondering why the Rebel is only available for now with the regular Hurricane engine. Like, why not put the high output engine in their off-road vehicle? And the only thing I can say about that is there is a version of the Ram 1500 coming out later this year called the RHO, and that is sort of the nominal replacement for the outgoing TRX, which was a crazy truck that I already missed. Ram won't say what RHO stands for, but I think you might be able to figure it out with just a little bit of brain power. So far, these straight 6 turbos have done well on the street, and they've done well off-roading. There's just one final thing for us to test, and that is towing. Our final test of the day is towing, and behind me I have a 7,300 pound Airstream, which is not at the top of the Ram's towing capacity, but enough to give it a real challenge. And one thing that surprised me, this truck that we're towing with doesn't have the high output engine. If it were me and I was gonna have people tow with my truck, I might put them in, you know, my most powerful engine so the truck feels super strong. But what that says to me is that Ram is pretty confident also in this standard output Hurricane. And again, the power figures on it are impressive, better than the old V8, 420 horsepower, 469 pound-feet of torque, and it moves this big load with relative ease. The Ram, probably not the best towing truck in this segment. The front end still feels pretty slanted though, and you're not lacking power at all. We were able to get up to speeds, even on kind of twisting country roads like this with a little bit of hill without any trouble. And yeah, this powertrain has really proven itself throughout the day. The high output version was great on the street. The standard output version was very good off-road. And now that we're towing with the standard output version, I would say that it's passed all of our tests with flying colors. From a driving perspective, I'm not going to miss that V8 at all, really. These 6-cylinder engines have proven themselves to have plenty of output, and they don't really have peaky power. I would say they have pretty even power all the way throughout. The only thing that I do miss, and this is sort of a general, more trucky feel statement, they don't have the sound of a V8. So there's nothing like, you know, getting behind a big V8 and hearing that rumble. These things a little bit more high pitched, maybe not quite as grunty, for lack of a better word, and I do miss that. But otherwise, from a performance perspective, I really don't think you're going to be missing anything by dropping those 2 cylinders. This is taking a truck that was already pretty strong to start with and just elevated it even more. Now in this refresh, Ram has also sort of updated the truck's exterior slightly. You've got some new grills, these new animations in the headlights and the taillights when you lock and unlock the vehicle that are kind of cool to show your friends. But for me, the other big change besides the powertrains is the addition of this. This is the all-new Tungsten trim, the new top trim level, and it's very expensive, but it's also very, very nice. So this color scheme that you're gonna see in here is unique to the Tungsten, and it's also the only interior that you can get on the Tungsten. So no matter what color the exterior is, you're gonna get this sea salt and indigo interior, and I just have to say that it looks and feels fantastic. Everywhere you look and sort of touch in this interior feels covered in leather. Mon Mothma would say that many cows died to make this interior, many cows. And in case you forget what you're in, there's also tungsten badges everywhere. So on the seats, right here, there's one that even has the VIN, and then there's one, of course, in front of the passenger. Also in front of the passenger that's brand new for 2025 is this screen. And I actually can't see it here from the driver's seat. It has privacy glass. So that means that the passenger can use it to watch things, and I won't be able to see them. And that's cool because then you can also watch things while the vehicle is in motion. So if you don't get car sick, you can watch your videos while someone else is driving. Up here, we also have a larger 14.5-inch screen, also new for 2025. And in front of me here, a big instrument cluster that Ram says they put unique animations in that match the color scheme of the vehicle. So very cool there. I like those sort of like personalized touches for trim levels where you get different animations or different colors that really match the overall aesthetic of the truck. Now, Ram's interiors were already top notch. The Tungsten just takes it to yet another level. These seats here are actually 24-way adjustable. I did not count all 24 adjustments because that would take a while, but trust me, even these headrests are powered and they have 4 adjustments on their own. So we believe them there. And these front seats also have massage functions, which you can turn on via the screen here. The back seats even have heating and ventilation as well. So even if you're in the back, you're gonna be covered from that perspective. Otherwise, it's just pretty much kind of typical Ram fare in here, which is, again, a good thing. The Ram 1500 was already probably the most luxurious truck that you can buy, and now it's the most luxury Ram truck that you can buy as well. There are accents all over this interior that I really like. These knobs all have what are called knurling. I had to sort of figure out what that word meant, but it just basically means that they're a little bit grippy. So they have little texture in them. So this knob is knurled, this knob is knurled, this knob is knurled. It's my new favorite word, knurling. They've also partnered with Clips for the first time. There's a 23 speaker audio system in here that sounds pretty good right out of the box. And of course, there's one less speaker than seat adjustment. So I guess the seats win that battle. And below the screen here, you're gonna get these 2 wireless chargers, so 2 wireless charging pads. And Ram is kind of interesting in that they basically can't stop naming things after themselves. They're kind of like George Foreman, who named all of his kids George Foreman. And they call this new dual wireless charging pad the Ram Charger, not to be confused with the other Ram Charger, which is the PHEV version of the Ram, coming out later this year. If this interior has a weak point, it is on the technology front. Not from the number of screens, because 3 screens is probably more than anyone needs, but this large 14.5-inch touchscreen, while it looks great, this OS is starting to feel a bit dated. There was a time when Uconnect was really on sort of the forefront of having a nice, simple, easy to use system, but now it does feel a bit dated, and we've noticed that it's a bit laggy in its operation. So you have to use this screen to do things like turn on the massaging seats, control certain vehicle functions, and they just seem like a bit slower to come up. So as features have been added to the system, it doesn't seem like the processing power has maybe kept up, and it's a bit laggy. The other thing that we don't like is that if you're an Android user, Android Auto only takes up this little chunk of the screen, which is, not ideal. It'd be kind of nice if it took over a larger part of the screen. And on that note, if you do have Apple CarPlay, and we can actually switch to another device here really quickly, it does take the whole screen. So a win for Apple and a loss for Brian. Even though we weren't really impressed by the technology in this screen, there is one big addition for 2025 that does have us very excited. And that would be the hands-free driving assist system. This is a level 2+ system, very similar to what you're gonna get from Ford with Blue Cruise and with GM from Super Cruise. But instead of some fancy name, Ram just calls it hands-free driving assist, or as I like to call it, HFDA. So all you have to do is be on a divided highway that's been mapped similar operating conditions to those other 2 systems, and we are right now, as you can see, on the highway, so I can just take my hands off. Now there are nice green lights here in the instrument cluster that can tell me when I'm hands-free, as well as this icon that says hands-free, and in case that's not enough, it looks like this. It's got hands off the wheel, so I know I can take my hands off the wheel. There is a little camera here that watches my eyes. That's why I can't look at camera this whole time. I have to basically look at the road still. If I look away for more than 5 seconds, it will start to beep and tell me to put my hands back on the wheel. This system operates in the Ram from speeds of 0, so it'll work all the way down to a stop in traffic up to 90 miles an hour, which we won't test today, but rest assured that it does. And throughout the day when we've been using this system on these highways around Austin, it's been really impressive. I've really liked how smoothly it slows down and speeds up, and it also does a pretty good job of centering you in the lane. One other thing that it does well is lane changes. So it won't do automatic lane changes like Super Cruise, where it tries to maintain your speed even as you're driving and trying to pick the fastest lane. All you have to do though is bump the stalk and it will change lanes for you. And it also does so communicatively, which I like. So there's a little icon that appears here in the instrument cluster when I want to change lanes. And it will actually be yellow if it doesn't think it can execute it safely. But then once it can, it turns green, and then you just kind of slide over into the next lane, smooth as you like. One other feature about the system that I also like is that when you're not hands-free, so when it's functioning like regular adaptive cruise control, the steering wheel is actually capacitive. So there are other systems out there where to let it know that you have a hand on the wheel, you have to apply some sort of counter steering force or torque the wheel even, or shake the car to let it know that, hey, my hand's on the wheel. But since this wheel is capacitive, it can just tell immediately if I have a hand on it and I don't need to apply any force. and that's just a much better way to go about it. This system is available widely on the Ram 1500, which we also like. It's not limited to top trim levels, so it's available all the way down to the Laramie Longhorn, although in the Tungsten, it is standard, another thing that we like. And for 3 years, the system will also be free. It won't require a subscription until after that, so you're gonna save a little bit of money on the front end of that as well. Yeah. For our first crack at a system like this, it seems really well sorted. Some of the other automakers have taken a few versions of these systems to get them dialed in, but this one has done everything we asked it to do today, and it did it really smoothly and really well, befitting of the luxury trappings of this Tungsten trim. So the 2025 Ram 1500's refresh does come with meaningful upgrades. We found both of those Hurricane engines to have plenty of output. You don't miss the V8 at all, and hopefully they deliver better fuel economy when we get one of these in to test it at the Edmunds offices. We also really enjoy the Tungsten trim. It takes what was already the most luxurious truck in the segment and just turns that dial all the way up to 11. Now it is going to cost you a lot. That Tungsten truck that we tested earlier, price tag on that thing about $90,000, so you're gonna have to pay to get that level of luxury. But for us, those upgrades, as well as the addition of a hands-free driving system, which performed impressively on these Texas highways, they give the Ram more street cred and should put it on better footing against the offerings from Chevy and Ford, which will delight Ram fanboys. Now this vehicle is set to go on sale in March 2024, so not long to wait for it. And hopefully we can get one in soon to get some fuel economy numbers and see how it does in a tow test against what is stiff competition in the full-size truck segment. Thanks for watching.
Really heavy output?
Really heavy output? That's me after eating barbecue in Texas for a few days.